You've written your manuscript, you've researched your agents and potential publishing houses that you want to work with, and you just started the querying process. Now that you're reaching out and you're actually sending those querying emails, what are the next steps for you? Let's dive in. One of the most important things that you need to do is to track your queries. So as you're sending out these emails to the different entities, you need to be tracking all of your information. Create a spreadsheet or something inside of Excel and figure out what exactly you need to be tracking. I highly recommend you are putting the title of the book that you're tracking if you're querying more than one, the person that you are reaching out to, their email address, the date that you are sending things out, what you included, etc. Then as you're starting to get information back over the weeks, months, and even years that it takes these people to respond to you, you are then going to have a section for responses, for notes, for extra things to make sure that you've done all the steps. Now, if you really want to get nitty-gritty about this, you can actually create a checklist for yourself to make sure you've done all the steps. So as you're doing your research, you're going to fill in part of this template with the person's name, their information, then you're going to have a section on whether or not you've emailed them yet, when you email them, all of the information. Get very, very, very tight about what you are putting inside of your records so that you know what to expect. Because remember, querying is an incredibly long process. You are not going to hear back for likely, at minimum, a couple of weeks. At most, a couple of years. Yes, I said years. I actually received responses back to some of my original queries years after my books were actually published. That's how slow this can be. So we don't want to forget who we've already sent things to. We do not want to forget when we sent it or when we are expected to hear back. You can even have a section on when they say inside of their submission guidelines they typically respond to you, because most people will not respond if it's a no. Then you can see if it's after that period, you probably did not get in with that particular person. So you want to make sure you have all the information there so that you know how to move forward, or if something is not going to work in your favor as you are doing this querying process. Now, if you sent out your first query and you've tracked all of your data, it's important to remember you need to be looking for other avenues of publication if you're set on traditional publishing. You cannot and should not just be querying one literary agent or one publishing house. You need to reach out to a bunch of them. We don't want to go super widespread where we're messaging hundreds of people, but we do want to make sure we have a fairly good qualified collection of people that we are going to be reaching out to. So continue to do your research. Look for more avenues, look for more ways, consider different opportunities and see who might be a good fit. You never know over the months of querying who might pop up as a new available resource to you. Some people will be close to submissions, and during this process when you're not hearing back, they may reopen and you may be able to reach out to them. You may see somebody who is splitting off from their agency and starting their own. You may also see somebody who worked maybe as an intern or worked as an assistant to somebody now starting their own company that you would now have the ability to reach out to. So we're looking for new avenues. We're not just giving up and we're not banking everything on that one potential relationship. We are making sure we cast a wide net, seeing who will come back to us, and then making the best decision for each individual manuscript from there. And arguably the most important thing you should do as you are querying is to continue to write. You cannot just sit and wait for your first book to be picked up by somebody, because in most cases, it's not going to be. You need to have multiple manuscripts ready to go as you're going through this querying process. I cannot tell you how many times at the beginning of my career when I started querying, I had people look at my manuscripts, love my manuscripts, but decide that one wasn't quite right for them and asked if I had anything else. And because I did, I was able to offer them other things and they offered me contracts on those other books. You need to make sure that you continually have a source of content that you can be sending out to new entities. And this is not your sequel. No one cares about your sequel. No one's going to book your sequel. If publishers are going to contract your book, they're contracting your first book with the possibility of it being a sequel or having more books inside of a series, but they're never taking on an entire series right off of the bat. You have to make sure you write the first one and then sell it to whatever entity you want to sell it to, and they're very likely going to change things, which will then dramatically change your second, third, etc. book anyway. So don't ever write the follow-up books. You can have an outline for them, but no further than that. They are very clear about that in the traditional space. What you do need to do is write another book, something entirely unrelated, something that's going to get somebody's attention. So even if your first book does not get an agent or does not get a publishing house, your second very well might. In fact, we have a dear friend here on the channel who has written many books, and she queried many books, and she got an agent on her second or third book that she had written. She did not get it on the first book. That agent then tried to sell that second or third book, tried to sell several other books, and then eventually came back to the first book, and that book is now being turned into a movie. So there's always an interesting chance of things going very out of order inside of this industry. So once you've written a book, now you start your querying process and you get immediately into another book so that you have more to query. The more you have out in the world, the more likely it is for you to get a deal, and once you have a deal, the easier it is to get more deals for the rest of your books. Keep in mind that querying is a long process. This typically takes several months to several years for most people, and a lot of people will not even get in. So you have to do your best to move forward inside of this industry, but keep in mind, traditional publishing is not the only option for you. I am both traditionally and indie published, and I make way more money in the indie space. And I teach that it's really wise to be looking at both avenues because it's multiple streams of revenue, multiple accesses to different audiences, and more. So you want to make sure you're very clear on what's going to be best for each individual manuscript. You are not going to be solidly a traditional published person or solidly an indie published person if it doesn't work best for the individual manuscript. So instead of doing what you feel or what you think is going to be good for you, you need to look at what's going to sell best in the market for that individual manuscript and make the choice based on that manuscript. If you have questions on any of that, go ahead and drop it down below. And we also have other videos on this that you can be checking out here on the channel, where we're dropping daily videos to help you level up in the writing and reading world. Hit that subscribe and notification bell and come back for more so we can help you to be more profitable this year inside of your bookish business life, but spend less time and stress creating the content you need in order to be more profitable. We'll see you in the next episode as we continue to help you level up inside of your publishing endeavors.